And joining me on the broadcast this minute is Elizabeth LaRousse, who is a security analyst from Washington, D.C. Thanks very much for being here. Of course, a lot to get into. It's turned into a numbers contest as far as the tariffs go between the U.S. and China. But where is this really headed, according to you?
If I had a crystal ball, I'd let you know. It's headed for really rough seas regarding trade, but also services. So for now, both countries, China and the United States, have worked themselves, or more accurately, each other, into a corner. President Trump, who, when he campaigned in 2024 as well as 2016, really had targeted China quite a bit. People who remember those campaigns and elections remember him saying China, China, China a lot. And so his policy has really been like China prima. And so even though he had hit other countries with these tariffs, there's a 90-day moratorium, but not for China, because he really wants to affect and influence, adversely, influence China, to bring it to the table. Not only the United States and President Trump, but European countries are suffering what's called promise fatigue, that various Chinese leaders have promised to open up their markets, to reform the economy, to be more market-oriented, and they come with pleasing words to Mar-a-Lago, for example, as Xi Jinping did in 2017, and then just go home and carry out the same kind of state-oriented behavior. And so, Trump is trying to make some change there. But now the problem is China feels like it's pushed into a corner. Xi Jinping cannot, in front of his public, appear to be backing down. For goodness sake, over there, they're running clips of Mao Zedong's speeches about how we must be resilient and self-supporting and be strong. And so they're harking back to another very strong leader to indicate that they're not going to fold.
Right. Now, how does this escalation, according to you, impact the supply chains? Because there will be ramifications for other countries as well.
Yeah, this is a real problem. Obviously, businesses are looking for parts, from other countries, perhaps in Vietnam. China, when it got hit with previous tariffs under Trump administration, and Biden continued them, a lot of businesses, not all, of course, but a lot, moved right over the border to Vietnam. And I don't think that American consumers have not realized that, suddenly a lot of stuff's being made in Vietnam. Well, those are Chinese companies, right? So the supply chains are in other countries, but you can't get everything. You can't get all those, parts. And, as you indicated, key minerals, which are needed for EVs, for cell phones, various electronics, high tech. China has a control or near control of the market on a lot of those materials. So it's going to be difficult to get a lot of that stuff. So yeah, this is a very, very difficult time.
A difficult time indeed. President Xi Jinping, of course, has asked for the EU to join him in standing up to the US. What do you make of that? Now, would this be a partnership of convenience? If at all, if it does happen, and what do you see happening at this point with that outreach?
Right now, I don't see that. Now, the one caveat, I suppose, is Spain. Spain is meeting with China and talking about, tightening, trade relations there. Right now, overall, European Union and individual European countries, they still want to deal with the United States. As I mentioned earlier, my earlier comments, Europe is also tired of or suffering from this promise fatigue, right? And they also have been hit with a lot of inexpensive, cheap products from China. My goodness, I was just in Portugal and it was chilly. I had to buy a sweater. It was made in China. And when the seam is already coming apart, right? So we see that elsewhere. 70 countries have indicated to the Trump administration that they want to negotiate after he hit them with those tariffs. 15 countries are ready. They're sending representatives over to engage in what are called term sheets or letters of intent to agree on, freer trade. And so the European countries, they want to look to the US first. I would warn President Trump not to be so arrogant when he says they're coming to kiss my you-know-what. I don't think that's a proper way to talk to your allies and friends, especially when you want a united front against China.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much for joining us with those perspectives.
You're welcome.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.